The International Criminal Court's chief prosecutor calling on judges to, quote, urgently rule on his request for arrest warrants for Israel's prime minister and others linked to the war in Gaza. In a 49-page legal brief, prosecutor Karim Khan called on a panel of ICC pretrial judges to, quote, urgently render its decisions on the request that he filed back in May. That request for warrants calling for the arrests of Israeli Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu, his defense minister Yoav Gallant, and 3 Hamas leaders, 2 of which have since been killed. Dozens of countries, academics, victims groups, and rights groups have provided legal arguments either rejecting or supporting the court's power to issue those warrants amid its investigation into the war. That is just one topic that is making headlines right now, and I do want to discuss all of it, so let's bring in Hussein AbdulHussein, a research fellow at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us today.
Thanks for having me on.
Of course. Well, first off, I do want to talk about the request there from the ICC prosecutor, because essentially what's important to note here is that the U.S. and Israel do not recognize the arresting power of the ICC. So why is the prosecutor pushing for this arrest warrant to be issued, knowing that these arrests are probably not going to happen?
Well, I think all of it is about the attention that they can get and the headlines. Even if Israel was party to the convention or this court, it doesn't make sense that you go after the person in an elected government. Now, granted, if this was not an elected government, in the case of Syria, such as the Assad, or in the case of Sudan, or in these dictatorships where it's a one-man show, and then you go after this one man, this can be understandable. But in an elected government, Bibi Netanyahu does not own Israel. The army is not his personal army. The government is not his personal government. He was elected to do this. Israel is a sovereign state. So to go after him when he's representing a sovereign state, this doesn't make sense at all. It undermines the concept of the nation state and the world order on which this planet was built after World War II.
I do want to talk a little bit more about the ceasefire talks as they do continue over there in Cairo. Does it appear that we are any closer to a ceasefire hostage release deal being pretty much agreed upon? Because we know that Hamas had rejected the recent deal overall that Israel, according to Secretary of State Antony Blinken, had accepted. My question here, is it possible that a deal is actually reached?
Well, the last we heard from Hamas was that they said that the text that we have that was voted at the Security Council, that this is the end product, that this is not a starting point for talks and negotiations, which complicates things, because this text is a bit ambiguous, and it does not specify so many things that Hamas pretend that it specifies. For example, the text says that the Israeli troops, in case of a ceasefire, should withdraw from residential areas in Gaza. It does not say that Israeli troops should withdraw from all of Gaza. And of course, the Philadelphia corridor and the Netzarim corridor are not residential areas. So these little nitty-gritty details, these count, and Hamas doesn't seem to be in the mood of negotiating these issues. They're just saying, okay, we want this, and this is what the resolution says, and that's it. If Israel doesn't give it to us, in other words, if you don't go back to October 6th, then there's no deal. So to me, it looks like Hamas still insists that they're not going to take whatever deal is on the table. They want their own conditions and their own deal.
We have a high-up Hamas official who told a Lebanese news outlet that the U.S. is actually exaggerating the progress on the deal in an attempt to boost Kamala Harris's election campaign. Is that realistic, or would you say it's a far-fetched idea that's just being thrown out there by Hamas?
Well, let me just say that even though this guy, Osama Hamdan, he's Palestinian and he affiliates with Hamas, but he is sort of Lebanese, and whatever he says is very much under the sway of Hezbollah, the Iran-backed militia in Lebanon. So he's not as much someone who who speaks on behalf of Hamas, but more often than not, he would say what Hamas is thinking. I don't think he's in touch with Sinwar, who was elected as the chief of both the military and the political wings of Hamas. So, to an extent, I think what he's saying is what Iran or Hezbollah wants him to say, which is similar to what Hamas is thinking, but which is not exactly what Hamas might want to say at this point.
Let's talk a little bit more about Hezbollah, because we do know that 100 rockets, according to the IDF, were fired over at northern Israel from Lebanon just yesterday, over a 24-hour period. My question, does it appear that the attacks are really intensifying by the Hezbollah terror group against northern Israel as we see more and more of these happening? We're hearing a lot more about it.
Well, for sure, the number of rockets has been increasing. The range has been increasing. Now, they haven't pushed as far as hitting central Israel yet, but we see an increase in intensity from the side of Hezbollah. And of course, Israel will always have to respond. Now, here's the thing. I think Hezbollah is in a bind. On one hand, they cannot really stop Israel hunting down its senior leadership. Israel has so far killed the chief of staff of Hezbollah's military and the next 10 generals who come after him in terms of command and rank. Israel has killed over 430 of Hezbollah field commanders and fighters. So Israel is waging a war that's really specific and precise and targeting Hezbollah leaders. Now, Hezbollah does not really have the tools to stop this or to counter it. They only throw rockets on northern Israel, but at the same time, they're probably fearful that they don't want to go to full-scale war. So this is the balance that they're trying to strike, but there are no guarantees. That things might slip into full-scale war any minute between the two sides.
And it is important to note, I'm going to pop up this live image here that we do have of Tel Aviv, as folks have pretty much been on alert for an imminent attack from Iran, really over the last several weeks since the killing of Ismail Haniyeh. Now, we know that Israel reportedly carried out airstrikes in Syria Friday. It seems like there's a lot of limited information that's being released, but what is Israel's motivation for those strikes overall? Do we know much about this?
Yeah, actually, we do. What we know is that over the past at least 5 years or more, Iran has been trying to replicate what it has in Lebanon in terms of military infrastructure and militias, militias that look like Hezbollah and act like Hezbollah. They've been trying to replicate this in Syria ever since Assad lost control over most of his territory. What Israel has been trying to do is to not let Iran do that. And over the past 5 years or more, Israel has been targeting any infrastructure or any Iranian personnel that is engaged in such an effort. And this has been going on for a long time, way before October 7, when Hamas started, when Hamas attacked Israel. And I think that they're intensifying now because probably Iran is trying to do this with a more pressing situation, given that Iran is trying to respond to Israel. So on both sides, we see Iran is trying to get this to get up its infrastructure in Syria, and at the same time, Israel is countering as much as it can.
And it's important to note that the U.S. military actually carried out a strike in Syria Friday as well that did kill a senior leader of an al-Qaeda-aligned group there. Is that in any way connected to what Israel is doing, or are those two very separate situations?
Well, they are separate, but they are very similar. Al-Qaeda and ISIS are terrorist groups, and the model that they use is the exact same model on which Hezbollah was built and Hamas and the other pro-Iran militias. So we have two sets of terrorist groups, one that's Shia under Iran and the other that's Sunni under Al-Qaeda and ISIS. We, America, we go after the Sunnis, but sometimes we don't seem to have the appetite to go after the Shia terrorist militias. Thankfully, Israel is doing the part where they're going after the Iran-sponsored Shia militias, whether it's it's Hezbollah or the other groups elsewhere. Now, mind you, Hamas is Sunni, but they caucus with the Shia Iran. They are aligned with Shia more than with Al Qaeda and the other groups.
All right. Hussein AbdulHussein, thank you so much, as always, for taking the time to join us and break down all the latest developments there in the Middle East. There are quite a few of them. Anything else you want to add about really any of this before I let you go?
Well, I would just say keep an eye out for the border, the northern border of Israel. I think things are heating up. War might break any minute. And if it does, we have to be ready and to support Israel in this war. It'll be a much bigger, a much uglier war than the one we've seen so far with Hamas.
And we'll be keeping a close eye on that. Thank you again for taking the time to be here with us today.
Thank you.